Well, welcome. I want to welcome all you guys. My name is Bo Williamson. I am the founder of Noble Public Adjusting Group. We're your hosts tonight, and we have a lot of people here. We're going to let all the panelists introduce themselves. The goal for tonight is to give you guys, this is obviously open to the public. It's free information. We want to give you information from our expertise of working hurricane claims and working insurance claims and doing construction. We have general contractors, attorneys, roofers, and so, and if we lower the mic, you just have to tell us because this thing is, you got to have good mic control here. Insurance Wars is here filming, so if anybody has any nightmare insurance stories that they want to get on camera, just get with one of the camera guys, and you can tell your story about your adjuster, your insurance company. We're one of the largest public adjusting companies in the state of Florida. We have many expertise. We have many people. We'll get into some details about what you can expect from this storm. But before I get into this and open it up, we're going to let everybody introduce themselves. But just right quick, what we're going to do is we're going to explain a little bit about the mistakes we see people making and that have made in past storms and kind of foretell the future for you because we've seen it plenty of times. And then after everyone's kind of said a few things, we're going to open up for questions. And so Q&A. So whatever question you have, jot it down. You can come up to the podium at that point in time, and you can ask one question. You can ask many questions. And we hope everybody learns a lot tonight and gets a lot of value out of this. The news crew is here, and so be on your best behavior. With that said, Daryl, you want to take your mic and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Daryl Mick. I am the Director of Operations for Quick Roofing. And first of all, I'd like to say our hearts go out to you guys, Fort Myers strong. I've been in the industry 28 years. I was here in '04 when Hurricane Charlie came over in Port Charlotte, so I understand and can empathize with each of you. Real quick about the company, give me a minute. Quick Roofing started with humble beginnings 45 years ago. We've grown into the 4th largest roofing company in the United States. We're in 22 states with permanent offices, and we have 4 locations here in the state of Florida. Sometimes people don't think if you're big is a good thing, but when it comes to allocation of material, which is going to be an issue coming up in the next 2 years, we are the 2nd largest buyer of roofing shingles in the United States behind Home Depot. So when it comes to our supply distribution partners, we buy more shingles than anyone else, and we can do concrete and any other type of roof. But any questions you have, I can take it. Feel free to ask. So I'd like to pass the mic and turn it over to our good friends at Morgan Law Group. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is John Lanfer. I'm an attorney with the Morgan Law Group. This is Gismani Homarone. He's also an attorney with the Morgan Law Group. I want to thank Noble Public Adjusting Group and Bo for putting this on today. We really appreciate everything they've done. So what do we do? We are property insurance litigation specialists. So we file complaints for damages in the local circuit court alleging that an insurance company has failed to pay an adequate amount of benefits pursuant to a loss. And sometimes these complaints are needed early. Sometimes the insurance company will negotiate and work with the public adjuster, but we always are available to come in and represent any clients that need our services with moving forward and filing a complaint against an insurance company if they have not fairly paid your claim. You want to say anything? Oh.
Gismani Humarong. Hi, everyone. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. I'm senior partner of the Morgan Law Group. Morgan Law Group's been doing this over 20 years. We have offices all over the state of Florida, Louisiana, Puerto Rico, California, and we've seen all kinds of claims and can probably help you with anything you're going through right now. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Chad Hawkins, and I am a division manager for Shegog Contracting. We are a Florida-based and licensed general contractor. Our primary focus is rebuilding the entire structure. A lot of times after an event like a hurricane, we'll have wonderful, reputable roofing contractors show up and take care of that roof, but many of you are left behind wondering, well, what's gonna happen to the rest of my house? So that's where we come in, and we live here, we work here, we're here until that last house is done. And we're talking 4, 5, 6 years. We have spent 4 years up in Panama City rebuilding that community for 4 years, and they still have a long ways to go. So as much as all of us up here want to get you back in your homes, as much as we want to make sure that you're made whole and that you get everything that's coming to you in the house that you live in, it's very, very important to express to you that everybody up here probably has 100 years of experience in these hurricane situations, and we cannot stress enough how much patience that this is going to require to get through this. It's hard to hear that hey, I just need my house fixed, but there are tens and tens of thousands of people out here that aren't in this building, but they're going through the same thing that you are. So just know that we're here to help you. We're all here to answer as many questions as you have to feel comfortable moving forward the process. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing. The roof is the first thing that's going to get approved, and it'll probably be the last thing. They're going to open up coverage for some of these other areas of the houses, of your house, but that's where the fight is going to be. So my 20 years in doing this, I'm just telling you that if you don't have representation and you have significant damage to your property, if it extends beyond that roof, you need to talk to somebody here today about getting representation, whether it's a public adjuster or an attorney. I have a very difficult time working with homeowners that don't have representation. I'm a contractor. I'm here to identify and build back your home. I'm not a policy expert. Do not fall into that trap of hiring a contractor who says, we'll take care of all of it because we'll talk to your insurance company. That will waste precious, precious time. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan McGee. I work for Noble Public Adjusting. This is my 6th or 7th storm that I've worked on. I am part of the boots on the ground. We come when a storm hits, and we help the people in the communities. I will probably live here for the next 12 to 18 months, working with the community and helping to build back. We work very hard to help people in this area get the money that they need from their insurance company. We stand in that gap. I love my job. I love what I do. I guess technically I'm a storm chaser, but it's not, I'm here today and gone tomorrow. We're here for the long haul. Noble is throughout the state already here, but we're in this community for the long haul.
Hey folks, good evening. My name is Emil, and it's good to meet with a panel like this. I go back with these folks. I mean, Daryl, Mick, and I go back probably a decade together. We've worked in so many states. And so what I love about this and the Morgan Law Group and meeting folks like this, these are folks that aren't here and gone. These are folks that are stable, they're steady, they're trustworthy, they're reliable. Part of the whole process is putting a team together that's going to assist to get you back to where you need to be. I know everybody has got a story to tell. For some, it's a hard story. And some are fortunate and they know they haven't been affected as badly as others. But everybody has a story. You have insurance for this very reason. Don't allow the insurance company to not make you whole again. And sometimes, because there's so many moving parts, so much that we're learning in the process, it's hard for a policyholder to know all the questions and all the answers. You've got a great team. Together we're stronger. Together we're wiser. Together we can make you whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emil. And this is kind of informal, so we're just talking here. But I want to explain a few things to you. Your insurance, and by the way, I want you guys to take notes. So if you have a pen and paper, take notes. If not, take out your phone and make notes, because you're going to hear a lot of really good information tonight, and you're going to forget it if you don't write it down somewhere. So you need to realize that your insurance policy is a contract. That's the first thing you need to realize, is your insurance policy is a contract, okay? And in that contract, you have responsibilities, you have duties. You can breach that contract. The insurance company can breach that contract. And there's things that you need to do. All of these things you need to figure out tonight. each and everything that you need to do, be prepared, and take those steps, take those actions to do so. One huge mistake I'm seeing already, and I see it after every storm, is everyone believes that their insurance company is supposed to come out and they're going to pay what they're supposed to pay, that it's their job to adjust the loss, and that's just how it is, and whatever they give you, that's kind of where you're stuck with, or something along those lines. That's not how it works. When you go to file a claim, you are filing a claim. And so you have to tell the insurance company it's your responsibility as a homeowner, as a business owner, as someone that owns a boat that's been damaged, or whatever it is your responsibility to present the claim that you're filing. In other words, you want to present your insurance claim in the most favorable light possible, okay? You want to present your insurance claim in the most favorable light possible, okay? And so one way you do that is by filing something called a proof of loss, okay? You guys need to jot this stuff down. You want to file a proof of loss, especially if you're not going to retain help. You need to know this. Now, what is a proof of loss? A proof of loss is a legal document, the attorneys can talk about it, of something that you have to sign and have notarized and send into your insurance company, and it needs to tell each and every penny of what you're claiming on each and every coverage. And so on coverage A, exactly the dollar amount down to the penny of what you're claiming. That would be like your house. Your coverage B, which would be your other structures, your fences, your whatever it may be, a detached garage or whatever it may be, you have to list exactly the dollar amount that you're claiming. Coverage C, which is usually going to be your personal property or your contents, the exact dollar amount of what you're claiming. Coverage D, which is going to be your loss of use or your additional living expenses, you got to know exactly what you're claiming. And then you have to understand how all of these things work. Like your additional living expenses or loss of use under coverage D may be only PWI, paid when incurred, which means you actually have to go and pay the money ahead of time before you can ask the insurance company to reimburse it. And so you're sitting there waiting for your insurance company to pay for your hotel or pay for your house or whatever, but you haven't actually went and incurred those expenses, and they're happy, and they're not letting you know. You have to understand that when you file a claim, it's naturally an adversarial relationship between you and the insurance carrier at that time, frankly, okay? Because every dollar they give you is a dollar they no longer have. You have to understand that, okay? And so, so coverage A, how do you get it? How do you get that dollar amount? Well, you have to have a detailed, itemized estimate of exactly what the damages are. And not just from a contractor or roofer or whoever's standpoint. It has to be from everyone's standpoint. It has to be an all-inclusive standpoint. It has to include building codes. It has to include matching statutes. For example, the attorneys can touch on the statute 626.9744, subsection 1 and 2. These kind of things come into play. Maybe you have a tile roof that doesn't match and it mechanically can't fasten back together. Maybe you have a tile roof that, you lost one tile. They don't make the tile anymore. It doesn't have a Florida product approval code, and it doesn't mechanically fasten back together. Maybe your house is racked and you need engineering. Maybe because of the flood zone you're in, you have to elevate your house, because you're going to hit 50% of the value of the home, and you have to bring the whole house up to code, okay? And so there's all of these details. There's all of these things that you need to know and understand, or at least be prepared to retain someone that does to work on your behalf, okay? And so I want to cover tonight any and all questions, and I want you guys to be thinking about on the panel anything that you guys want to cover, the things that you're seeing, the mistakes you're seeing, and those kind of things. The insurance company tells you, go get us 3 estimates. Well, here's the problem with that. There's nothing in your policy that says go get 3 estimates. You're kind of wasting a lot of people's time. And not only that, but when you go get 3 estimates, sometimes the insurance company will use it against you. And they'll say, oh, we like the lowest person, 2 trucks in a truck, we like their estimate. We're going to pay that one. You say, no, I didn't like those guys. Those guys, I found out they weren't even insured. They're like, oh, well, this is your guy. You submitted this estimate to us. This is your guy. You're going to get 2 trucks in a truck estimate paid for. And so you have to be very careful about everything that you do. Another mistake I'm seeing is all the insureds are calling the insurance company, and they're beating their head against the wall, and they're saying, I see these posts on Facebook, and they're saying, I've called the insurance company 17 times and no response. I've been three different adjusters already. Nobody knows what they're doing and all these things. All of these things are true, but guess what? You need to stop that. All your communication needs to be in writing with the insurance company, and you need to know what you're talking about. You need to have every single thing documented, and you need to put the insurance company on their heels. When you send in a proof of loss, the insurance company has 60 days to respond to that proof of loss, okay? And if it's itemized out and detailed out, and you have engineering to back it up, and you have moisture mapping tests to back it up, and you have mold testing to back it up, and you have all of these things, you have maybe an affidavit from a general contractor or a roofer or someone on a product, Florida Product Approval Code or whatever it may be, the insurance company, they're in a bad position, okay? And so you're putting them in a position to where they're going to pay your claim before the next person. Here's another mistake I'm seeing people make, is they're waiting to hire experts until after the insurance company has addressed their claim, until after the insurance company has lowballed them. Well, listen, here's what you're doing, is you're taking your repair time from 6 months to 4 years, whether you realize it or not, even though you're only waiting 3 months. Because what's happening is you're going to be behind everybody else. You're going to be behind everybody else with every roofer. You're going to be behind everybody else with every general contractor. You're going to be behind everybody else with every public adjuster. You're going to be behind everybody else with every attorney. And so you want to strategically and tactfully move forward quickly and address things appropriately and efficiently and in a solid way. You need to know what you're doing, and that's why we're doing this free event tonight. With that said, I will pass it off to someone else that wants to talk for a little while.
Yeah, thanks, Bo. Bo's going to give you guys a lot of information tonight. It's stuff you need to take to heart, but I hear a lot of times our sales reps come in and said the homeowner waits until the adjuster gets out. Well, the reason why we like to be out there with the adjuster is because we do a full property inspection. We point out things on your property that are damaged to the homeowner, and if the adjuster comes out there and you don't have representation at the time he's there, if he misses something and I come out afterwards or some other roofing company finds something, or even a contractor on your property that's damaged, what's the time frame of getting them back out there to take a look at it? So guys, the biggest thing we run into is people wanting to wait, see what the insurance company says, but and make sure they're licensed and do business. There was a contingency that came open after the storm, letting other people come in here to help with emergency services, but they're onto it now. They're checking everybody's licenses today. So just make sure you get a good contractor and do a good job for you. So with that being said, I'll bring it over to Morgan.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. So just to touch on something that Mr. Williamson was discussing earlier, the insurance policy is nothing more than a contract. You engage in a contract with the insurance company. They have certain obligations under the contract, and you have certain obligations under the contract. And if it becomes necessary at some point down the road to file a breach of contract action against the insurance company, they're going to look at a lot of things that were done during the claims investigation process, and those things could affect everybody's rights in litigation to be able to prevail in that case. The two most important things are the sworn statement of proof of loss, as was alluded to. If they make a request for a sworn statement of proof of loss and you do not comply with it, and we file a case, the case is over. The other thing that's an absolute bar from being able to proceed is an examination under oath request. If the insurance company makes an examination under oath request and it is not complied with, even if we proceed with a lawsuit, the case is over. So we're talking about post-loss obligations. These are obligations that your insurance policy places on you, the homeowner, after a loss. There are many post-loss obligations. Submitting documents that the insurance company requests is a post-loss obligation. Submitting to inspections is a post-loss obligation that the insurance company requests. These all need to be complied with, and that's what all the folks here are here for, to help set you up for success. Now, as I was discussing, there are 2 post-loss obligations that if they make those requests and you do not comply, you cannot proceed with a subsequent breach of contract action, and that is an EUO, an examination under oath, and a sworn statement of proof of loss request. All the other post-loss obligations are generally treated as issues of fact in the legal process. So if they requested a document, you did not provide that document, unless it's a sworn statement of proof of loss, generally that's an issue of fact as to whether they were prejudiced in their investigation as a result of you not providing that document. And it's an analysis that the court, the judge, and the jury will go through, and essentially it's very important. You want to say anything?
By a show of hands, how many of you in here already made an insurance claim? How many of you already have a public adjuster? Or a claim professional like a roofer or a lawyer? How many of you feel like you might need one and that's why you're here today? Has the insurance company been out there already and done an inspection? By a show of hands? Keep your hands up if you think the insurance company is going to pay you what you think is the appropriate amount of money for your claim. You? You're the only one. So we're here to help you with that. It is a complicated process. I won't dive deeper into it, but yes, it's a contract. You have post-loss obligations, and failure to comply with them could result in a forfeiture of your insurance claim. Additionally, not having a claim professional involved sometimes will leave a lot of benefits untapped. Like you might not know that you're supposed to get money so that while they're working on your house, you could live somewhere else. Additional living expenses and similar conditions. You get rent money for that. And there's all kind of other benefits that we could help you depending on your specific circumstances. We'll be able to analyze your facts of your case and show you how your policy applies. You might have policies that are different. Obviously, there are endorsements to those policies. Some of you might have exclusions that others don't have, right? You need somebody to help you review this stuff so you know how to properly put your claim together so that we can maximize your benefits. That's the benefit of really having claim professionals like us involved, because we're going to make sure you avoid mistakes that if you didn't have involved, you might make it and the insurance company could take advantage and pay you less.
Hey, one thing I forgot that's real important that I wanted to talk to you guys about. There's five issues that the insurance company looks to disqualify a roof that's been damaged. I just want to share those with you that you qualify for a new roof. Number one, it's real obvious. You have shingles blown off the roof. You can see that from the ground. The second issue is when the shingle lifts up and pulls through the nail and lays back down. You can't see that from the ground. The third issue is when the winds, when we had 130 mile an hour winds for 2 days, it lifts the shingles and the seal is compromised and dust and dirt gets under it. And the fourth issue is flying debris that hits the roof and does damage. Now, the fifth point of order is the hardest one to get approved through the insurance company. It's severe granular loss. They're going to come back and say it's wear and tear. Well, BS. We had 130 miles an hour winds for 14 hours. It sandblasted your roof. Guys, the granules on your roof serve a big purpose. They protect for UV rays. It's your first line of defense on the roof. If I took all the granules off your roof is made of 90% of petroleum products, it would actually melt. So you can't really see it from the ground, but when you get up on a roof, you can see where the roof's been sandblasted. And you can ask my friends to the right, which I know very well, Jasmani, they can get that bought for you all day long. But if someone's there to meet the adjuster, can point that out, we may be able to get it done in the first meeting. All right, guys. Chad, you're next.
The worst advice I've gotten at times in my life were from people that really love me. And I feel the same way about neighbors and Facebook and some of the other places where there's a lot of chatter. And if you ever dive deep into some of these conversations, you realize that, at least from our perspective, that you're getting a lot of bad advice. And, you know, we're talking about wind, we're talking about damages. One of the things that really needs to be understood is what type of water you're dealing with here. You're not talking about a wash machine water damage. You're not talking about a plumbing leak. You're talking about water that is very, very contaminated. And one of the things that I'm seeing on Facebook and some of these other places is that people are doing their own demo. They're removing sheetrock, they're removing insulation, they're doing it themselves. And yet the insurance company has not been out to the home yet. If you have water damage, I would recommend that you not do anything and call a professional. Get a mitigation company out there, somebody to walk through the property and do a complete analysis. The other thing, next thing you want to do, or along with that, is get a construction professional out there. That water, if it touches any of your electrical, if it touches your ductwork, if it gets into your air handling unit, if it gets behind cabinets, there is absolutely no telling what this water is doing. And just because you've got fans running does not mean that you're containing the situation. We have taken cabinets out of houses 2 years after a hurricane, and it's full of mold. So just be very aware of that this water it's not just normal rainwater. It's got a lot of muck and junk in it, and it's going to spread. So if you lost soffits, if you lost shingles, that insulation, if you look at your soffits, you'll see that they're all plugged up with insulation. There's a reason why that is because that hurricane pressurized that attic space, and it created basically a tornado up there. And in that wind is water, and all that insulation got wet. And if you're seeing damage on the cosmetic side of your walls and ceilings, you can probably imagine that it's going to be a lot worse on the other side that you can't see. So anyways, keep that in mind.
And I'm going to pivot off of this. If you have a claim and you didn't remove your cabinets, and 2 years later he comes in to remove your cabinets because they're deteriorating, that claim is long since closed. So there's no coverage on that 2 years, 3 years down the road when you're having to deal with that damage. The other thing I wanted to mention in what the attorneys were talking about is sublimits. Do anybody here know what sublimits are? Those are all of those little limits and little extras, and sometimes it takes away coverages that are in your policy that you don't know you had. I had a house fire about 15 years ago, and when I started studying for my test for becoming a public adjuster, I figured out I left $40,000 to $60,000 on the table. You want to know why? I didn't know to ask for it. I didn't know it was there, and the insurance company that I had certainly wasn't offering, hey, here's coverage for this, here's coverage for that. So that's another good reason to get professionals involved.
Interesting how storms have different characters. One of the things I've noticed in this storm, and I've not noticed it in any other storm, is somewhere along the line, somebody has fed some information into the system that is absolutely incorrect. One of the worst things you can say when you're dealing with your adjuster is wind-driven rain. Time and time again here in this storm, I've heard clients say, well, I was told that that's what I should say, wind-driven rain. Here's the problem. Wind-driven rain is specifically excluded from most policies, from most coverage. The correct term is, and you can't lie about it or bend the truth, but the thing that is covered is a storm-created opening that rain went into. What's the difference? I have no idea. It's terminology, and there are technical differences. And I'm sure our attorneys will tell us that that is still in the court system trying to. And sometimes I think like there were 4 cases that ruled against it and 2 ruled for it. But be careful of the things you say. And that's why it's so good to have somebody who understands the process, who's been through it, who knows the thousands of questions that need to be answered. Because here's what we've learned. If we can control the conversation, we can better manage the outcome. Let me say that again. If we can control the conversation, we can better manage the outcome. And around the walls here, there are contractors all over the city. They're amazing people that know what they're doing. Make sure you surround yourself with people that are going to give you the right advice, who know the questions to the answers to questions you're asking, and can work with you to make you whole again.
Thank you, Emil. A couple things. Chad mentioned something. You want to write down the term Category 3 water. Category 3 water. During a hurricane, that's what Category 3 water is things that come from the ocean, the sea, all the pollutants, all the nasty stuff that's in the ocean. That's all Category 3 stuff. In fact, if the water comes through the house and goes through the all the way comes down through the insulation and all those kind of things, that's Category 3 water. Category 3 water is not, clear water that's coming out of your sink or your toilet or something like that. It's completely different. It's handled completely differently. And how you handle Category 3 water is anything that it touches that is porous, it has to be torn out. You guys understand what I just said? Category 3 water, anything that it touches that is porous within reason has to be torn out. Okay? And so that's very important. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have run into this issue already about wind versus flood. I've seen it quite a bit. It's an ongoing thing with every hurricane, wind versus flood. But you can go into a house, you can see 6 inches of a flood line. If you have a flood line, it's always a flat line of wherever the water kind of settled. And the adjusters say, no, this is flood damage. And maybe you don't even have flood insurance. Maybe you don't have flood insurance. But the fact of the matter is, if the Category 3 water comes into your house and goes down your paneling or your drywall or whatever it is, it's touching that porous drywall, and it all needs to be torn out under your homeowner's insurance. Under your homeowner's insurance. Now, let me explain something to you. The insurance company plays this smoke and mirrors game, and this we're going to change things around on you, and they try to deny things that you don't claim. Understand this. Your insurance company cannot deny something that you are not claiming. Okay? And so if the insurance adjuster says, oh, that's flood damage, you say, I'm not claiming that. I'm not claiming that. So why are you even bringing that up? I'm claiming Category 3 water that damaged all my walls, and all the drywall has to be replaced. Does that make sense? And the insulation that's behind it and everything else. And you have to do these inspections. You have to go with a contractor or roofer, do a 4-point inspection, do all of these, like a wind mitt kind of inspection to see if your house has racked, to see if your trusses and all these things in the attic. How many insurance adjusters went in your attic? By a show of hands. 3 people, 4. Out of the whole crowd, only 4 people's insurance, and I'm talking about the insurance adjuster from the insurance company, not your public adjuster, right? So you have to do a thorough inspection. Most of these adjusters are in and out within, 10, 15 minutes or whatever, and they're on their way. That's how it goes. Let me explain something to you guys about independent adjusters, because this is another smoke and mirrors thing that you need to understand. Independent adjusters would tell you have 3 different kinds of adjusters. You have public adjusters. Those are the good guys, frankly, that work for you. And then you have staff adjusters. Those are the people that work directly for the insurance company. The insurance company is their boss. And then you have independent adjusters that work for various insurance companies. Now, independent adjusters would tell you that I want to pay you as much as I can, because the more I pay you, the higher my fee is. Has anybody heard this? That's true. You know what they don't tell you? That they don't have any authority, and it gets kicked back to them and chopped down by the insurance company. And so if you have a brand new adjuster, which most of you do, I ran into a guy that was a pig farmer 2 weeks ago. Today he's an insurance adjuster. And they come out and they say, man, I'm going to write this up for $150,000. I'm going to make me $3,000. I'm going to stick my chest up because I'm big money. That's what they think. Until they start turning in their estimates. They start turning in their estimates to the insurance company, and then the insurance company says, whoa. We're not paying that. You're going to have to chop that down and, come back. Their deductible is $10,000. Come in about $9,000. I'm telling you, this happens every day. Okay? And then the adjuster, the independent adjuster, he reluctantly chops down his estimate to $9,000 or whatever it is, and he just cut his own throat. Now he's not making $3,000, he's making $300. And he's got to chop down the other 9 estimates too. And so now what did that guy just learn by experience? If I want to feed my family as an independent adjuster, I have to blow and go through these houses and write everybody at below deductible or just over or whatever and make my $300 a pop. You guys know that? You guys just learned something? That's the reality of it. I'm just being honest with you guys. That's the reality of it. Now, an attorney later on can subpoena that original estimate, right? Sometimes you can get it, sometimes maybe not. Yeah, move to compel it to get that estimate. And then guess what? The insurance company would have to most likely come back and pay that estimate, wouldn't they? At a minimum? It'd be evidence, very strong evidence, right, that their own guy wrote it up. And so it's very strong evidence and that someone wrote it up to this amount. And guess what? The poor independent adjuster, the nice guy, sometimes they're rude and they're not nice, but maybe the nice guy or gal that came to your house, they never get that money. When a public adjuster or attorney or whoever comes back and gets you the $150,000 that you should have been paid to begin with all this fighting and all this, without all that, the independent adjuster never gets paid. He gets ripped off as well. So I'm just being honest with you guys, okay? This is the reality of it. Now, I want to talk a little bit about AOBs and assignments and stuff like that. The attorneys can talk about how the assignment laws have changed, but sometimes a gentleman asked me earlier about assignments. Sometimes you can assign a claim if you're going to sell your house. And so don't always think an assignment is bad. You may assign your claim and you want to sell your house or something like that. And so there's different things that you can do with assignments, but just be careful and know what you're getting into with an assignment and know whoever you're signing it with, what their responsibilities are, what yours are, and all those kind of things. So we're happy if you have assignment, AOB, questions or anything like that, the panel's happy to answer any of those questions. But that's something else you guys need to think about and know about, because I've seen many, many times where people do assignments, and depending if it's a full assignment or whatever, it changes things. Sometimes if it's a full assignment of benefits, whoever you're assigning that to, they step into your shoes as the claimant, as the policyholder in effect. The attorneys can kind of tell you this, but sometimes it's a partial assignment. So there's good and bad things, and you guys need to know how to differentiate and what to do. And if you don't know how to do it and you say, I'm going to throw my hands up because I don't know what to do, that's okay. Hire someone that you trust and run it by them, okay, before you dive off down that road and so forth. What else should we touch on, Emil?
One of the challenges for homeowners is they don't know what to ask for. They don't know how to substantiate what they're asking for. When you get a good public adjuster involved, they're going to base your claim on a number of things. I'm going to give you to them quickly. Write these down if you would. The first thing is they're going to base it on state statutes. This is why we're asking for it. Things like 6269744 subsection 2 that says it's got to match in color, quality, and size. Color, quality, and size. Not only state statutes, but case law. Contractors, you're going to love this. Write this down. This is how you can get overhead and profit on every single one of your jobs. Trinidad versus Florida Peninsula, it was determined in court that if the policyholder in all likelihood would have hired a contractor, a general contractor to do the work, the insurance company owes overhead and profit whether the policyholder does the work or not. One of the advantages of bringing a team in is we know the state statutes, we know the building codes, we know the manufacturer requirements, we know the case law history, we have a slew of expert opinions, and so we take our estimate based on all of that with the backing of a good team of contractors and attorneys, and we make the policyholder whole again. Don't try and fight this fight yourself. There's too much at stake, and there's so much resource readily available.
Yeah, and these attorneys can answer all these questions with case law and state statutes and all of those things. I do want to touch on something too, is mortgage companies, okay, just because you need to know this. If you have a mortgage on your property, they will be on the insurance checks, and they're almost as bad as the insurance companies to deal with. I mean, it's pretty bad. So just know that if you have a mortgage on your property, that when the check is issued, the mortgage company's name will be on that check, and you have to get their name off the check, and it is a nightmare, okay? And so if you have any questions on that, jot it down, and then when you guys come up to the podium, you guys can ask some specific questions, but you have to deal with that. So sometimes you may have 2 or 3 or 4 names on the check. You need to check with your insurance company and make sure that the right people are on the policy and so forth. If someone's on the policy that, God forbid, has passed away or something like that, you need to be addressing these things now instead of, once the checks come in, and then you have to get a death certificate or whatever it is, so you have to be proactive on these things. And so when you file an insurance claim, unfortunately, there's a lot of responsibility that falls on you. I want to quickly touch on condo associations and HO6 policies, just in case we have some unit owners here or someone on a board, something like that. The attorneys, again, can talk to you about 718.111 subsection 11, and it differentiates in that statute. For my ladies here, I love that you're writing down notes. 718.111 subsection 11. Again, the attorneys can go into details on that, but that's something that if you live in a condo association or something like that, you need to be familiar with that that particular statute yourself. Learn, because it talks about the coverages and what the condo association master policy is in charge of, and then what you're in charge of as well. Attorneys, you guys know off the top of your head, I don't want to put you on the spot too much, about the statute for assessment fees for condos. What's the statute?
For assessments?
Yeah, just the
718.116.
What is it, 718.116?
Yeah.
You also have assessments. So if you're on a condo board, you want to talk, you guys want to talk about that, about how the Florida statute lays out about assessment fees and the minimums, and the minimum that a condo association would want to assess their unit owners to get the most bang for their buck and that kind of thing, and maybe the deductible on that?
Sure. So if you live in a condominium association, you're a unit owner, unless you rent, right? If you own in a condominium association, you're a unit owner, and you're going to have an HO6 policy that's going to cover your contents. The way that a condominium association works is shared ownership, so everybody has an undivided interest in the common elements of the association. That could include the roof, that could include the outside balconies, walk areas, etc. And the association is responsible for getting an insurance policy that covers everything that is common to all of the unit owners, right? Like your roof and things outside. They call it a bare walls policy is what it's called. So everything up to your bare walls. So if you have a claim in your insurance, in your condominium unit, the insurance company for the condominium association, they'll pay up to replacing your drywall. They won't do any coverings, like they won't paint your drywall, they won't put tile on your floor, they're not gonna paint your ceilings. If cabinets need to be removed, sometimes we make an argument, we get them covered, sometimes we don't, but the point is, everything that's inside your unit is your responsibility. Hopefully you have a policy. It's not required to have a policy, so sometimes I run into unit owners that don't have any contents coverage, they don't have any interior coverage, and they're solely relying on their condominium association to handle the claim and handle their structure, handle the roof, and replace your drywall. Sometimes you don't have great boards of directors, and they don't make the claim on time, and they make a lot of mistakes that end up prejudicing all of the unit owners. So if you are in a condo board and you don't think your board of directors know exactly what they're doing and you're afraid it's going to affect you, you should definitely suggest them to get a claims professional to help them, give them some rights on that. As far as the assessments are concerned, policies are quoted every year for a particular amount of money, and usually your condo board will do a budget to properly assess the unit owners for as much money as going to be needed to cover that policy. Sometimes you have crazy hikes like we've been seeing. I've had a lot of my condo clients come in and they have a triple it's been trebled. Now it's 3 times as much. And those condominium associations have advised them, look, you're in a situation where this is way out of your budget. You might even have to do a special assessment. So the unit owners might have to pay some extra above their assessment in order to be able to cover that. But assuming you're covered right now, what you really need to be focusing on is making sure that you're going to those homeowner meetings or unit owner meetings, and that the condominium association, especially them, definitely have a claim professional involved. You don't want your board of directors, a group of volunteers handling that and dealing with the insurance company, especially when you have so many unit owners counting on you to do the right thing.
Thank you so much. I want to open up for questions because I think we're going to have so many questions and so forth. But right before I do, whenever you have a question, just come up to the podium and wait patiently, and then we'll call on you. I want to talk on the right to repair right quick. Okay. Is my mic on? Can you guys hear me? So the right to repair, in some insurance policies, you have what's called a right to repair. The insurance company has the right to repair, meaning they can send out their own contractors that do work for them and not even send you a check, okay? They just send out their own contractors. They cut whatever corners they decide to cut. They do whatever shoddy work they decide to do, or they do great work. Who knows? I haven't seen it. But, but the point is they send the check, they pay the contractor directly. And so if you don't want that, if you think they're going to do bad work, or you think that they're more loyal to the insurance company than you, then you really need to study your policy to figure out what's your responsibilities. Do you have to sign another contract? Do you have to actually sign the contract? Are the specifics there of exactly what you have to do? In other words, let's just say your policy says, for theory, that the insurance company has a right to repair, and and you have to sign another contract when that time comes. Well, it may not specify exactly what that second contract has to be worded as. And so if you don't want if you don't want these people doing your work, you could say, listen, I'm going to need background checks on every single person that's going to be here. You can only work between this time and that time. There's no cigarette smoking on my property. You can't use the restroom here. The porta potty is going to have to be over here. You're going to have lanyards on with identification. There's no music. I'm going to have to see where you're insured, and I'm going to have to see your license. And oh yeah, I need to check your finances with your company and stuff like that. Let me check your. I need to see a screenshot of your checking account balance to make sure you're not going to go bankrupt on me. And you can make it really difficult for them to where they don't want to deal with you. And so now they don't want to deal with you. And so you're kind of off the hook to a certain extent. So there's a lot of tricks you can do and things that you can do to kind of make sure that the thing is your insurance claim and your repairs are going the way that they want to go. And so, again, the attorneys can speak to a lot of these things if you guys have specific questions on these, but there's just so many things that you guys are going to have to learn very, very quickly, or else team up with somebody that already knows these things that can help you. So with that said, let's open up the podium to any questions. Just make your way up. If you just introduce yourself, we have the news crew here. Just your name, maybe the city that you live, and what you got going on. What's your question?
My name is Deborah Meany. I'm from Cape Coral, Florida, and I reported my insurance claim the day after the hurricane. I have not had an adjuster come to my house yet. Tuesday of this week, a desk adjuster called me and made me an offer of $4,500 to settle the claim. I know I have roof damage. We have a lot. We've had roofers come out and look, and they too have said I need it repaired. Not repaired, replaced. They said I need it repaired. My husband talked to them. They said, we inspected your house by satellite. How does that see inside my house? Do I need a public adjuster, a lawyer, both? What do I do from here? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is par for the course. And, this is one reason why we started the show Insurance Wars, because years and years ago, I started hiring people on at my company, and I would hire people on, and they would be new to the ropes and all that, and we would go out on a claim, and it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable what the adjusters were doing and saying and stuff. And so the new people would say, this is real? I thought that we were in good hands. I thought that we had somebody on our side. I thought somebody was there like a good neighbor. But in fact, they're doing a satellite inspection. I mean, and so
that can see through my roof.
I think
interior damage, right? And that can see the lights that were ripped out from underneath my soffits, right? That satellite's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the attorneys can talk about bad faith claim practices and unfair claims practices, but, the insurance company has a duty to inspect your property. They have a duty to get there in a timely fashion and inspect your property, and they're failing to do this. And before we get to the bad faith and all that, guys, there's good and bad everybody, okay? There's good insurance companies. I hope. I'm still looking for them. There's good insurance adjusters. There's good insurance adjusters, but the insurance adjusters sometimes don't have that much authority. And so there's bad in every industry. It just happens to be in the insurance industry, there's a lot more bad, okay? The more money that's in the industry, it seems like there's a lot more bad people that come into play. And so, but there's bad public adjusters, there's bad contractors, there's bad roofers, there's bad attorneys, there's bad everything. And so you're going to run into, look, raise your hand if you just had an outstanding time with your insurance companies so far. They've paid you everything. Oh, not a hand in the house. Not a hand in the house. And not only that, is sometimes an insurance company can pay you policy limits, and to touch on what Susan was talking about, it's not really your policy limits, because you have an additional 25% or whatever under ordinance and law. So you could be insured for $300,000 and you have a total loss. Your insurance company pay you $300,000, but they never let you know that you actually have an additional $75,000 to bring your house up to code on top of the $300,000. That's just one example. And so remember, you have to look at finances. You have to look at finances. Do they want to give you the $75,000 or do they want to keep the $75,000? If you want to talk about politics, you say, oh, I saw this politician on the news saying this, that politician. Look, you can go to transparencyusa.org, transparencyusa.org, and you can look at who's donating to each politician, and you can see who's doing what. I saw a very interesting comment on Facebook just this morning. Some smart gentleman, he says, I decided to hire a public adjuster because I saw all of these ads on the television to not hire a public adjuster, and they were all sponsored by the insurance companies. I said, that's a smart man right there. That's a smart man. You guys want to hit on bad faith and unfair claims practices?
Sure. First, I want to tell you, you do have recourse. You can hire a claims professional. And the silver lining in what you just described is they've opened coverage for your roof. So we're already halfway there. Okay, the fact that they didn't go out there and do an adjustment and do an inspection and calculate your damages, great. Just makes it easier for us because they don't have any evidence to back up their $4,500 offer. Okay, so you do have claims professionals here that are available to you. A public adjuster will probably be your first step in that direction. And if they can't resolve it for you, then your lawyers will be able to come in there and have the insurance company do that. On bad faith, there is a statute in place that says that if the insurance company acts in bad faith, they call it doesn't adjust your claim in good faith, right? You can serve them with a notice. It's called the civil remedy notice. And you say, in this civil remedy notice, and you send it directly to the Department of Finance, so it's a state-controlled process, and you list all of the items that you feel the insurance company didn't do in good faith as part of their process, the fiduciary duty that they owe to you. And if they don't rectify that within 60 days, there will be a presumption that the insurance company did not act in good faith. And if we go ahead and we have to file a lawsuit and we have to go ahead and prove this in court and prevail for you, then we'll be able to have we've now have a claim for statutory bad faith. The purpose of statutory bad faith is to provide for what are called extra contractual damages. Those damages that wouldn't have otherwise been covered by your policy is those damages that you had extra outside of your policy as a consequence of the insurance company not acting in good faith. This is above and beyond them breaching the policy. Because a breach of the policy, we get what are called compensatory, make you whole. Enough damages to make you whole. You didn't pay me my benefits, I'm going to sue you. You owed me 100, you paid me 4,500, so now you pay me the difference. But if as a result of you waiting for a year for this insurance company to do it, you lost your house in foreclosure, you lost your tenants, you had to pay a ridiculous interest rate to someone, you had to pay for repairs over and over because you don't have enough money to replace and you keep doing temporary repairs, all those extra damages that wouldn't have been covered, I would demand them directly from the insurance company.
And interest as well, right, gentlemen?
Yeah, of course. And everything, basically all of the consequences of the damages that they caused you, including interest, pre-judgment and post.
I just want to recap and reiterate. You guys need to write down something he said. I think it just kind of glazed over it there. CRN. You guys need to write that down. CRN. That's a civil remedies notice. You need to learn what that is. Civil remedies notice, CRN, learn what that is. Did you have something, John?
The only thing I wanted to touch on is bad faith damages. One thing you have to remember is that you do have to obtain a judgment on the actual breach of contract action before you can bring the subsequent bad faith insurance action. So for that reason, most claims do settle out of court. You don't really have as much bad faith insurance litigation in Florida as you do in maybe some other states. But part of that process to secure your right to then seek those bad faith extra contractual damages is you have to file the CRN. If you do not file the CRN, you can go and get a judgment for compensatory damages, but then you cannot go and file the action for bad faith damages.
I want to add something to the lady that was up here about the satellite imaging. Something that a satellite is not going to pick up. If you had debris in your yard that didn't come from your yard or your house, it came from your neighbors. How did that debris miss your house? You need to walk around that property. You need somebody up on this panel, have a professional come to that property and look at your homes inch by inch. Look at the glass on your windows. If you have black marks on the frames of those windows, a shingle hit it. It's likely, if you look at the glass at a specific angle in the right light, you're gonna see that that glass is damaged. You're gonna see cracks in your siding from missiles hitting it. There's gonna be a number of things that an untrained adjuster is gonna miss. These folks that are coming out to your property, they don't have a building construction background, right? They're trained on how to write a very limited scope of work. They're there to validate the claim, in my opinion. They're just adding validity to it, and they're gonna be there for 15 minutes and they're gone. My average inspection on a house is 2 hours. And I usually come around lunchtime or dinner time. So, the other thing is, you need to know, you guys can talk about this, a release of claim. If you don't know what that is, you guys need to talk about that tonight. I have seen these field adjusters coming to properties with a release of claim in their hand and asking you to sign it. If you sign a release of claim throughout any time through this process and you have not gotten everything that you asked for or what have you, if you don't have an expert opinion on what happened to the property, if you don't have an expert's estimate and you sign that release, there's no going back. I've only had one in the 20 years that I've done this. I've only had one release of claim overturned. And it took 2 years. So if anybody presents you with that, do not sign it unless you're absolutely certain you've been made whole with your claim.
Really good stuff, Chad. As we come with the next question, cosmetic damage is still damage. So if you have scratches, you have this or that, the other, it's still damage unless you have a cosmetic waiver. And you may have codes kick in. You may have some stucco that wasn't up to code, and you have to replace a portion of it or something along those lines. But yet, it's for whatever reason it's not up to code. Maybe it's not thick enough. Maybe it's more than 144 square feet sections or something, or there's no weeping drains at the bottom. Whatever it may be, right? It could be a million things. Seems like, but you may have to bring that up to code. And between the matching statute and so forth, and the the different building codes, you need to look at these things. And so never sign a release, I'm telling you, I have to reiterate what he said. Never, ever sign a release unless you're 100% positive you have enough money to do all your work, including the unseen, unknown damages. Okay, next question, please.
Good evening. My name is Cece, and I live in Cape Coral, Florida. I have a two-part question. I noticed that both of your flyers for adjusters and attorneys say no upfront costs. And of course, you have to get paid for the wonderful work that you do. So can you, one, explain to us what that payment looks like? The second part of my question is there a certain level of damage or if we get public adjusters, attorneys, does that increase our chances of getting dropped from insurance companies?
Yeah, let me answer a few different things here because you just triggered some things in my mind. One is if the insurance company closes your claim, guys, that doesn't mean anything. We can open it right back up. As long as you don't sign a release, if the insurance company is like, oh, we closed your claim. We paid you $12,000. We've closed your claim. That doesn't mean anything. They're trying to lie to you. They're trying to trick you. We just tell them, well, open it back up. The claim isn't closed until I say it's closed. I am the one filing the claim, right? And so you need to know that. Your insurance company dropping you, people bring this up. You know, I'm going to let the attorneys speak. There's a statute that the insurance company can't drop. The insurance company can't drop you after a hurricane. I've even posted it on Facebook if you guys know it off the top of your head, or you can look it up. So you guys need to be familiar with that statute if you're concerned about being dropped. The other thing is, you almost have to ask yourself, who cares if my insurance company is going to drop me because they don't pay for anything anyway? I'm going to drop those guys. That's kind of how I look at it. So if you're concerned about being dropped, I'll let the attorneys talk about the Florida state statute that they can't drop you after a storm if you keep paying your premiums, okay? In the middle of a claim, they can't just drop you. So just keep paying your premiums depending on the condition of your house. If you have a total loss, frankly, you don't want to go in there, if it's clearly a total loss, you don't want to go in there and spend $40,000 on doing mitigation if it's a total loss, because then your policy limits are going to be short $40,000. But there's so much stuff, guys, you have to know about these laws and the building codes and all this stuff, and if you have to elevate your house and all these things that are going to come into play, guys, it takes a while to become experts at these things. As far as the public adjusting fees, look, we charge 10% on residential claims after a loss. Florida had an independent study done called the OPEGA study. OPEGA is an acronym. You guys can look it up. And they said claims that had a public adjuster received 747% more money than claims that did not have a public adjuster. Claims with a public adjuster, according to this independent study, received 747% more money than the claims without a public adjuster. Public adjuster takes 10%, okay? And so then someone will argue, once you overcome that objection that somebody may give you on the all-knowing Facebook, they'll say something along the lines, yeah, but it takes longer with a public adjuster. Excuse me, what takes longer, 9 months or eternity? Because you're never going to get the money from the insurance company. And so when they say that it takes longer if you get a public adjuster or attorney or something like that, longer than what? The initial payment that the insurance company made you? Does that make sense? Because they'll never pay you. They'll never pay you. You have to force the insurance company in a position where it's going to hurt their pocketbook if they don't pay you. That is unfortunate. It's just the way it is, though. You have to put them in a position where your claim is documented so well with engineering and moisture mapping and mold testing and contractors' affidavits and detailed Xactimate estimates on all coverages with F9 notes that's explaining the statutes or the building code that comes into play or whatever it may be. You have to document it so well where they say, we're going to have to pay this one because if we don't, they're going to sue us. And when they sue us, they hire an attorney and sue us, then we're going to be in court on your claim, and this person's going to be in the jury. Who do you think they're going to side with? Are they going to side with you, their neighbor, or are they going to side with the insurance company that ripped them off too? And so you have the authority. You have the power, okay? But you have to understand this is a patience game. Whoever is the most patient wins. If the insurance company wears you down and beats you up and so forth, look, there's a book. If you guys want to, have something to fall asleep to besides the Bible or something, which is a great book, then deny, delay, defend, right? Deny, delay, defend. This is the insurance company's overall. This is their motto. This is what they do. They try to deny your claim if they can. Then they delay your claim as long as they possibly can. And then they defend their position.
Hold on, I just want to add one thing. When he said 747%, I'm going to bet that half the people go, yeah, right. It really is, and let me tell you why. If you have a $100,000 claim, on average, the insurance company wants to pay you 13.67 cents on the dollar. So you're going to get a check for $13,000, maybe $14,000. When you have a public adjuster involved, we're going to try to get that up to $98,000 because it's a $100,000 claim, right? That's 700%. So we're not talking just numbers that you grasp out of the air. And the one other thing that Bo touched on is, the eternity. When you're working with a public adjuster or an attorney, we're going after money they never intended that you receive. So 90% of something is much better than 100% of nothing.
Okay, so a quick example on the $4,500 offer we heard about today. If the insured accepts that offer, guess what? They're done. Yeah, it's going to take longer if you hire me because I'm going to go get you the $100,000 you deserve. So yeah, always is going to take longer, but because we're going to go get you the money that you're entitled to, not settle it for short. Our fees. So we charge 20% pre-suit. Today, I've been authorized to charge 10% in conjunction with Noble. So we're charging half the price today as a law firm, and we'll work together with your public adjuster, and we'll charge you half the price for everybody that's here today. So that's what we charge. The likelihood of being dropped afterward, I know that was a question that was raised. If you have a public adjuster or a lawyer, we can't really speak to that, right? Because I don't know what that insurance company is going to do or what that adjuster, or there's a lot of humans on the other side that are making these decisions. These are not necessarily policy decisions across the board for an insurance company. So it just really depends on a case-by-case basis. But arming yourself with a claim professional, you should never be deterred because the insurance company may drop. You get a different insurance company, but you need to make sure you get your benefits because this is not the right insurance company for you if that's going to be the only reason why they're trying to drop you. As far as the release is concerned, you should never sign a release without talking to a lawyer, period. Okay? And the reason for that is there's already a pre-existing duty for the insurance company to pay you on the policy. They don't need a release from you. You already paid a premium, and their job is to pay you on the policy. Why do you need to give them a release? A release of what? What if I have more damage? What, you don't want to pay me if I find additional damage once my contractor starts to do the work? That's what you're covering me for. I've argued that even asking you for a release when we're not in litigation and trying to do a global settlement in and of itself could be considered bad faith.
Noble has a table in the back. If you guys want to talk to anybody from Noble, She-Dog's over here, She-Dog Contracting, Morgan Law Group's over here, Quick is in the back, you're in the back corner, right there. And so at any point in time, if you guys want to talk to someone one-on-one, you guys can do this. But I hope we hope we answered the question thoroughly. Ma'am, you have a question?
I appreciate you being a professional. I don't want people for saling my owner their home. I'm a real estate agent. A couple of questions come into play. I asked one of the lawyers earlier, and you mentioned it, the 50% FEMA rule. Most consumers don't have a clue what that is or means. I have a gray idea, and I even asked him some questions that were kind of stumping to him. So if you could elaborate more on what you know about that so people understand what that means, please.
Yeah, so it's a little bit complicated. You need to find out, first of all, you need to find out exactly the flood zone that the particular property's in. And then you need to go to your county building department and ask them what the elevation level requirement of your home would be, okay? And if you're gonna have flood insurance, this is kind of a necessity. And so if they say, well, your elevation needs to be, 6 feet or whatever, above sea level, whatever it is, then you need to know that. Then you have to hire an elevation specialist, an elevation expert specialist that can come out with all of their professional tools and tell you exactly how, how high above sea level or whatever your particular house is. And then from there, you'll know if your house is high enough or if it's not. And if it's not, then if you want flood insurance and all that kind of stuff, it's going to kick into play. And so the 50% rule, there's a building code in Florida. Basically, if you're going to repair 50% of the value of your home or more, and it's the tax value. So what's the value of your home? They say the market value. Well, the market value, what we've kind of have settled on in the past, is your actual taxable market value. And so when you get taxes every year and they say, look, your land is worth $200,000 and your house is worth $500,000, then the $500,000 would be what you'd go off of. You wouldn't calculate in the land, you would just calculate the improvements, okay? And so if the improvements hit on that particular house, $250,000, meaning, I say improvements in a different way. If the repairs are going to cost $250,000 or more, guess what? Now you have to be concerned or happy or whatever you're trying to get out of it to know that you've hit the 50% mark. That's probably the best I can explain in a concise time without putting everybody to sleep.
It is rather boring.
I know, but you asked the question.
Yeah, I know. The other component I have concern of as a real estate agent is when these people file these claims, these companies going bankrupt on them. I know nobody has
Yeah,
said that.
it's, let me tell you, Federated National, listen, everybody's scared to say companies and stuff like that for lawsuits. If you ever watch Insurance Wars, at the very beginning of the show, there's a quote, and it says, the greatest want of the world is men who will stand for right, though the heavens fall. Men who are true to duty as the needle is to the pole. Men will stand for right, though the heavens fall, okay? And so I try to be one of those men, okay? I don't know where all the other men are, but I try to be one of them, okay? And so I build my life on integrity, so I don't mind calling out people that's doing these things. Federated National went out of business. They went into receivership right before Hurricane Ian happened. Well, why are these companies going into receivership? The best I can tell is the CEOs are getting tons of money. They're pocketing $1 million a month, $2 million a month, $3 million a month, and whatever it is. And everybody's getting paid, except for you lovely people. And so your premiums, when you go to file your claim, and you've been paying premiums for 5 years, 10 years, and all that, and you're thinking they're going to come back and pay, then they're going into receivership. And receivership is basically bankruptcy. So that's where a judge says, this insurance company is insolvent. They don't have any money. And so they have to go into receivership. Let me tell you something. In the last 3 weeks, we've had clients that we've gotten $300,000 from Federated National, for example, since you're asking the question, and we were waiting for the check to clear. The check went into their account. We were waiting for the check to clear so that we could get paid and stuff like that. So we were in touch with the client, obviously, and all that kind of stuff. Hey, has the check cleared? Hey, has the check cleared? They call us frantically, multiple clients, not just in Florida, but also in Louisiana. The $300,000 is gone. It's gone out of my account. They pulled the money out of their accounts because these companies are going bankrupt. But I'm telling you, some gentleman asked earlier before the meeting, it's just math. It's just math and risk assessment, okay? And so they're either doing the math and risk assessment wrong or something else more nefarious is going on. or a combination of those things. Do I think insurance companies are going to go under from this storm? I absolutely do. And that's another reason why you need to be moving forward with being proactive of filing your claim right now. Because if you delay and don't be penny wise and dollar foolish. Okay? You're like, oh, I'm going to wait for my insurance company to offer me my $10,000 and my deductible is $9,000. I'm going to get a $1,000 check. I'm going to wait for that before I move forward with doing all these things. Mistake. Because you're going to be behind 100,000 people that actually get paid, and then the insurance company is going to go bankrupt, and then you're not going to get paid, or you're going to get paid a lot less when FIGA kicks in, FIGA, the Florida Insurance Guarantee Association or whatever. When they kick in and you start dealing with them, you're going to get paid a lot less. It's going to be a nightmare, and you don't want to be in that position. So I'm telling you, this is open to the public. We're here to help you. I'm telling you, don't make these mistakes. That's why we're here.
One last question. If I run across people that are just done with the house, they just want to move to something different, and they have a claim open, and they want to sell, and you talk about the assignment of benefits, who would be best to refer them to so that they don't get screwed in doing that, and neither does the buyer?
They can do two things. You can talk to the attorneys about this. They can either sell the house at a loss. So let's just say they have a $500,000 house is what it would sell for normally, but they have $300,000 in damages. They could write up you could write up the contract as a real estate agent saying, I'm going to sell this house for $5,000 and we're going to deduct it, we're going to discount it $300,000 due to the Hurricane Ian damages to the house, and we're going to actually sell it at $200,000. And so I would think that would need to be spelled out in the real estate contract to give these guys something to fight on, that they took a $300,000 loss, and so they can continue to do that claim. Or they can say, if you have somebody that they say on the same scenario, somebody says, I'll pay you the $500,000, but I have to have an assignment of the claim. That's fine too. Then that case would be fine. But you'd have to have an attorney write up like a one-page assignment that assigns any and all rights and so forth and so on to the buyer in that instance, and then they would pay the $500,000, buy the house, and then they would have, because of that assignment, they would then have stepped into the policyholder's shoes and could go after the insurance company for that $300,000. And so the attorneys could give you more detail about that if you want to get with them afterwards.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your question.
Hi, my name is Linda Davenport. I'm from Cape Coral. My two questions. First is, I already received a letter from my insurance company that they're dropping me as of June 2023. They're going to be pulling out of Florida. If my claim is not closed by then, are they still responsible to pay me the money?
Yes.
Okay. Second question is, I've already looked into going with another insurance company. Is it to my best interest now to fire them and go with the new company, or wait until June when they're closing?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It really, I hate to give this answer, but it kind of depends on, I think, it kind of depends on the damages for your particular property, of like how, in other words, how much damages you have percentage-wise and all those kind of things. If it were me, I would probably just, without knowing the details, because your details could change my answer, but without knowing the details, just generally speaking, I would probably just keep them as my insurance company and try to do the repairs and try to have the repairs completed before that drop date, and then get a new carrier. And the best person to call when you look for a new carrier is your public adjuster, because they'll tell you the worst of the worst and the ones that are a little bit better, I think.
Okay.
So,
thank you very much.
thank you, Linda. Any other questions do we have? Any other topics we need to hit on?
Can we ask the attorneys about the insurance company dropping you while you have a claim open?
Unfortunately, the law isn't always in the homeowner's favors about dropping or non-renewing policies. It's more focused on notice requirements. They have to serve the appropriate notice to then non-renew the policy. If they don't serve that notice, then they've violated the Florida statutes on it. It's also governed by the insurance commissioner's orders during a state of emergency order. He may extend a certain time frame for when the insurers can or cannot drop or non-renew policies. But most of the time, and we'll tell you in practice, insurance companies do this all the time. They usually get the notice requirements right. They usually have pretty sound underwriting guidelines and principles regarding that. So if they either move out of Florida or if their policy period is up and they provide you the intention not to renew the policy, usually you need to find a new insurance company.
I have a little different perspective than some of the folks up here, and that is, look, the insurance company is not, they're not the enemy. You don't hire a PA, you don't hire an attorney to start a war. Okay, so if you're apprehensive about, what should I do? Should I just have my contractor try to help me with my claim, or should I do it on my own? I tell you, don't do it. Don't do that. It's vastly a waste of your time. But if you're worried, what are they going to do? If they go to war or if they start this fight with my insurance company, am I going to get canceled? That's not why you hire these people up here. You hire them to represent your best interest and not to start a war, not to go to war. It's fair to say you don't know the policy language. You don't know the contract. I own rental properties. Every time I buy a property, I'm looking at a property, I give it to my attorney because I want him to look at the things that I'm not familiar with and I don't have the time to deal with. So if you have an insurance company, you don't need to be shopping around right now. Stick with it and see how it goes and hire representation. You can't go this alone. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 20 years in the hurricane situations, and every time I've seen somebody try to do it themselves or have a contractor do it, they get left behind in a very bad way.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up because we want to be out of the building at about 8 o'clock. But again, Noble Public Adjusting Group is in the back table. They have, a lot of them have Noble logos on their shirts. She-Dog Contracting is over here. They have the logos on their shirts. Morgan Law Group's over here. They have logos on their shirt. Quick Roofing's over here. They have logos on their shirts. I know, you go to church and they say, anybody have prayer requests? And people raise their hand and gossip and all that. And then they ask for, any silent requests. And a lot of people raise their hands. So I know a lot of people aren't comfortable with talking in front of people. And so now is the time that you can come up to individuals from any of these companies and ask them anything that you want and enjoy yourself, mingle, get refreshments, all that. We appreciate you coming. Thank you guys so much.